morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege for me to come and face such a meet gathering to witness this event, and especially when we talk about global leadership and what are the challenges today in today's world. I am talking from the perspective of how do we look at things from a global perspective and India's perspective on the whole. Like you would see from this slide, that there is a wall and there's something which is emerging from that wall, and that's the straight path. Here basically we want to talk about how is India emerging to become one of the global destinations of the world. But there are more to this as far as the global destination is concerned. The West would be looking at India as a very, very big marketplace, but for Indians and for how markets are behaving in India is something of a very, very different journey. That's exactly what I would like to speak about, and I would expect your views and your suggestions and your questions as you get along with this communication. What inspires me? Game-changing people everywhere. This is a saying by Richard Branson, founder of the Virgin Group. My professional inspiration has no separation from my personal inspiration. It's people who will stop at nothing to make a positive difference to other people's lives, and I'm fortunate to come across quite a few of these game-changing people, and the desire to help and keep up with them is what drives me. Now, this is not just a saying. This is a saying which I would like to take it forward, is that the global leadership is about people. We have always talked about people, but when we talk about 3 Ps, we have always said profit at the first. But I feel that people make companies, and it's not the leaders only who make companies. And it is the inverted position of the organizational curve which we talk about, where we talk about leaders at the bottom and we talk about the people at the front. I would be talking about those necessarily for India, because there are too many issues as far as India is concerned and the emerging markets are concerned, where people are trying to gather a kind of a model which is going to suit our sensibilities over the decades which are going to come. And these decades which are going to come is a decade which is solely ours. And we need to understand that from the global perspective. There's some of the things which Richard Branson tries to do in his programs or tries to do in his company. Step away from the usual weekly agenda and setting up an inspiring theme. This is basically what he is trying to gather up in all these summed up words, is basically he wants people to be at the front and people to inspire themselves to make things happen. Like we know for a fact that this is a shortcut kind of a generation. We are talking about the Gen X here, which needs a lot of technology to do things very, very fast. And India as an emerging market is exactly that kind of a market where the market views change day by day. And so it becomes very, very important for the global leadership to understand that, especially coming from the Western civilizations, to come and understand India from not CMM 5 concept, but a CMM 1 concept, which is actually deriving the whole situations around the world. India as a marketplace has grown phenomenally over the last few decades. But what we have to understand, or all the leaders have to understand, is how we make that sustainability a business objective. Or sustainability, is there an India way to do business? Is there a Chinese way to do business? Is something of a very, very big question mark to majority of the leaders across the globe. Here, I would also like to talk about Ram Charan. Ram Charan is one of the leading people who has been suggesting a lot of things to a lot of companies across the globe. And here is one Indian who has made a mark, and he's tried to tell people how things can be done when there is a recession, when there are problems, and how things can be brought from their point of view. Here got brought up here is about execution. We here in India, it's a possibility that execution is one thing which is very, very not taken care of. Why I would not like to talk about execution is that's where the skills lie. As far as India is concerned, we all are aware, as India in the skill sets across the globe, even though we are a very, very large country, percentage of growth of skills is really a minuscule thing as far as the growth of these nations are concerned, especially China and India. Here I would like to talk to you about the story. The story is about Alexander when he talks to a general citizen. Alexander, like we all know, had come to India long time ago, and he was in a very, very high mood because he had actually said that India is going to be my last destination before I win the whole world. And he was in a very high mood, and when he was going through the streets of India, he just saw a fakir, a gymnast sitting there and watching the stars. And he said to himself, and he laughed at the gymnast, and he said to him, I on earth is this guy laughing because he is half naked, and the guy is nothing to achieve in life, and I've achieved the whole world. He goes on to him, and he sees that the gymnast looks at him, and he keeps on laughing at him. And he's intrigued, and he says that this guy who has not attained anything in life, why is he laughing at me? So he asks the gymnast, where are you? What are you doing? The gymnast told him that I'm experiencing nothing. What is that nothing? The nothing is the sigma. Is the sigma, is the Indian concept which we talk about. We talked about our generations, we talked about our traditions, we talked about those people who were skilled workers in the temples long, long time ago, and the father started a business of making a temple, and the son carried it forward, and so on and so forth. The Taj Mahal was bought, or any of the old temples in South India were made. Now the thing is, we believe in a theory is that if something can be done, it can be done again, and it can be done again. And that is exactly what is happening in the Indian market situation today. Is that we try, and we try again, and we try again, and we keep on trying that because there is no other way, but we have to keep on trying to be successful. And I think that is the most pinpoint thing as far as the CEOs and the leaders of the world have to recognize, is that there is nothing which is static in India. Everything is moving. So he has to be a global leader, not on the concept of only the globe of the Western world, but India to that extent. We talk about India here. We talk about India from various legislature point of views. We talk about political situations. We talk about sociology situations. We talk about HR. We talk about skills. We talk about so many areas where we are wanting at this moment. And that is precisely why the Indian, the leader of the world has to recognize that he has to be there first, everywhere, wherever he goes. We have always heard of the term, the leader of the organization or the guy who is heading the organization is always alone at the top. Now that is precisely what is probably not going to happen in India. It has to be along with all the functions. He has to know what the functions about, what are the changes which are happening on a day-to-day life in India, what is happening in the departments in India, what are the challenges which people are facing here. So he has to be a guy who is an Indian guy who understands the ethos of this country and the running of the country and the young people and their aspirations for this country. Here I'd like to tell you about a small story about India. I'll just go through these slides. So, what do we get? This is exactly what is happening. We always trust that the people who know the business are the right people. There is a commonality, there is a common knowledge here. is that what works for us, we are the best solutions for that. And we are the best solutions mainly because we are ingrained into our ethos, we are ingrained into our culture, we are ingrained into our people and the thinking alike. The only difference is profitability. That was never ingrained into us. These 300 years of rule over us has really brought that thing into us, which is the killer spirit. The killer spirit of a lion. And the humbleness of an elephant who roams around. And he was said to be the king of the jungle at one point. He would live over the lion king. And so that is exactly what the story of India is. And that is precisely what we will be talking about in probably the next decades to come, is that how do we really bring an India model which is going to take care of our future needs. Now these are some of the leadership skills which leaders globally must have, should have. Important enough, very important for leaders to have. Dependability. They have to be connected, they have to be believable, their communication, they have to build bridges, they have to build trust, they have to serve, they have to be able, high achievers, teachers, value others, and so on and so forth. These are not just those things which are required now. I think every guy who's sitting in this room and every guy who's working across India, see to a small business to even grow, he has to have this talent. Only then he can call the business successful. But he has to have